Welcome, folks, to the HMG Innovation Accelerator. And I'm so thrilled and excited to say we have three amazing companies at different levels of go-to-market, different levels of maturation here today. All three are security related. Why don't we start, Evan, with you? Evan Reiser, the CEO of Abnormal Security. Evan, great to have you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Hunter, so much for having me, and great to see you again.
We know security matters. We've always known security matters, but in this post-SolarWinds era, everything's changed. In this pandemic crisis, everything changed. The threat landscape dramatically grew, dramatically changed overnight. Hey, Evan, a little bit more poking in here, genesis of Abnormal, your passion and mission at Abnormal, and the problems or the issue that you see across the enterprise architecture that you're addressing.
One of the problems I think generally in cybersecurity is that attacks have they've kind of evolved from these like bulk spray and pray attacks where you send out millions of phishing emails, maybe millions of pieces of malware, and they've evolved these very targeted, personalized attacks. Right, we've seen that with SolarWinds as an example of that. And so I think a lot of kind of first generation security solutions, they were very powerful at stopping. They would kind of memorize the attacks, gather a bunch of threat intelligence, and stop them again. And I think that was very effective, and it still is for a big variety of attacks. If you look at the most kind of successful attacks today, there's very kind of targeted, personalized, and the technology that you used kind of 10 years ago is different than what you use today. So in kind of our world, which is email security, we see attacks moving from kind of like these spray and pray bulk phishing attacks to very targeted, personalized attacks, whether it's executive impersonation or very targeted spear phishing or sometimes supply chain compromise, where attackers are breaking into vendors and sending emails on their behalf. And so that's kind of the big trend that probably applies to to everyone here. What we do specifically is we take an AI machine learning approach, and we take advantage of kind of this cloud native infrastructure that is provided by both Microsoft or AWS. So when we work with our enterprise customers, we'll connect directly into their Microsoft environment. We'll learn everything there is learned about the business using machine learning. We build a behavioral baseline of the company. Then when we see these kind of targeted emails, right, we don't know if they're bad or yet because they've never been seen before. So we kind of really study known good using this AI technology. We'll look for anomalies of things that are suspicious, whether it's a suspicious email, suspicious invoice from a vendor, maybe a compromised, it's a compromised person in the supply chain. Then we use that to kind of stop, a bunch of different security use cases, whether it's targeted phishing, executive impersonation, or various forms of fraud in the supply chain. So that's kind of what we do today. And I think that, there's a huge opportunity for these kind of cloud native architectures to reinvent, what security looks like for the modern enterprise.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan. Next up, we have Ritesh Agrawal. He's the CEO of Airgap Networks. Hey, welcome to the program, Ritesh. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Hunter. Thank you for having us. My name is Ritesh Agrawal. I'm the CEO founder of Airgap Networks. We are an anti-ransomware company.
When you think of the space that you're covering, tell us a little bit more about ransomware. What a big issue is that?
Well, it's one of the biggest issues, Hunter. If you go back in the memory lane, we started with virus being the biggest culprit, and a bunch of companies sort of popped up and started talking about antivirus solution, and that did well. And after that, we sort of evolved into malware, and last decade was mostly about malware, and a bunch of anti-malware solutions popped in. The difference between all of those and ransomware is ransomware doesn't need detection. It announces itself. And when I started the company, that was the first sort of eye opener for me. Is a lot of companies were focused on let me detect, and this was sort of evolution from virus to malware, and detection doesn't really help in terms of ransomware. And there's very little time available to you to be able to react. And that gap is what Airgap fills. We are essentially, you can think of us as an anti-ransomware company, and we should see a whole industry evolve around this because ransomware has become the biggest menace. As we have seen, most notably, the reason I think ransomware is going to grow as we go forward is because of two fundamental reasons. One is there is a lure of financial gain, and the second is anonymity of cryptocurrency. These are the two most fundamental reasons for any criminal enterprise to grow, and we will see that as we go forward. Having a solution that addresses this problem effectively is extremely important, and we need to be able to curb that. And there are two areas when I think about ransomware that are extremely important, and I think this goes beyond what Ivan said, which is I think there are companies that are focused on protecting the ransomware from getting in, and then we're so grateful that they are doing a great job. But once it gets in, there's a fundamental flaw that industry's forgotten to address, which is how do I stop the propagation of these kind of ransomware or bad actors internally? And when they move laterally, there is no protection available today. I can challenge anybody on this call that figure out a technology that allows you to protect from the lateral propagation of any bad actor internally within your organization. So Airgap figured that out. That was led to starting of a company. The inspiration came from mobile telcos. In my previous role, in my working for Juniper Networks, I was responsible for telco security as well. And it became apparent to me that telcos have figured it out. You've never heard about any large telco getting impacted with ransomware. For example, all the subscribers of AT&T got impacted with ransomware, or Vodafone, or Deutsche Telekom, or Rogers. Nobody heard that all the subscribers got impacted, and that was the click in my brain saying, why these guys have the most vulnerable operating system on their network, which is Android, and yet we've never heard about mass ransomware infection. And here we wake up every day and find another large organization impacted with ransomware, all of the employees. And so once I understood the delta, how this is laid out, I couldn't resist the temptation to start Airgap. And the idea is to help our customers protect themselves from ransomware.
How big of a market is it, do you think?
The various industry analysts throw out different numbers. Some say $20 billion and some say $300 billion. It's kind of difficult to judge on that front, but I can tell you I've spoken to 100 or so customers in the last 3 months, and without a doubt, 99 of those have admitted that they've been impacted with ransomware multiple times in the last 3 months. Forbes came out with a study that suggested that 51% of the organizations they surveyed were impacted with ransomware in the last 12 months. And I suspect the remaining 49% just didn't want to admit. But in my humble opinion, I think pretty much everybody has been impacted with ransomware or will be in the next few months. It just makes sense. The attacks have become very targeted. It's relatively easy to penetrate any organization, contrary to our thinking that everybody's safe. That's not true. And once impacted, hell breaks loose.
Awesome. Great to have you. And next up, we have Nikhil Gupta. Nikhil's the CEO and founder of Armor Code. Hey, Nikhil, always good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you again, and thanks for having me, Hunter. Hi, my name is Nikhil Gupta, co-founder and CEO of Armor Code. Software is eating the world, and we are simplifying the software security.
Thanks, Nikhil. And same question to you is why isn't it being covered already with the current security providers out there?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. So what happened is that the software development lifecycle changed from waterfall to agile, right? So from once a year release to several times a day. And there has been a lot of tools, application security tools, which are again 15, 20 years old, which are very good for waterfall development methodology, right? So you come in and you have all the time in the world, which is like 2 or 3 months to do this, versus in today's when you have a software development cycle happening several times a day, then you need to be automated where you have tools such as Jenkins, initiating, going to various application security tools. And all these tools, they are like plethora of tools which are all siloed. And they don't talk to each other. And that's the other value which Armor Code brings is it orchestrates the various application security tools so that it's very efficient and provides you the answer which executives are looking at. And instead of spending, companies do not have the luxury of having 5 hours, 10 hours change control board meetings when you're having a daily software release. So all of those needs to be automated, and with technologies such as AI and others, that's where is a huge gap. And like some of the other companies, we are a COVID-born company. We started in July, right, of last year, and that's how compelling the gap was. And in fact, especially after SolarWinds, we have been just overwhelmed. Like the amount of customers, like we have met more than probably 115 just last couple of months. That's the kind of traffic that has come our way.
Evan, back to you. Your passion and vision in getting involved with Abnormal. What was it about Abnormal that you were so excited about? What was the why?
There's kind of two intersecting themes. One is that we wanted to protect knowledge workers wherever knowledge workers work. And today, I think there's this explosion of communication collaboration tools those are great things for all of us, right? We're able to easily communicate on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or email because of these kind of open connections. And I think that's like a boon for many IT leaders, but it's also, it's an increasing set of concerns for many security executives. And so I think that was kind of the opportunity. We knew that like companies like Microsoft, Palo Alto Networks, all these guys, they're going to get really good at protecting from the outside, right? But how do you kind of ensure that in these kind of like trusted communication channels, right, people aren't over relying on digital identities in order to make business decisions. I think that was kind of one, is just like knowledge work, all cloud software or all enterprise software is moving to the cloud. People are using like these new tools. There's all these new kind of risks, right, for businesses. I think the other side of that was like there's these amazing new APIs through Microsoft and Google that help you learn all these things about the organization. My background is actually not in cybersecurity. I come from the advertising technology world where I used to run the machine learning team at Twitter. And I knew that all this data that was available in the cloud office would allow you to kind of do things that you couldn't be done in the past. So I think in the past, 5 years ago, you couldn't have really taken an AI approach, like a true AI approach to cybersecurity because the data wasn't there. Now these cloud APIs allow you to go get better visibility and better protect all of these kind of new surface areas, right? Whether it's email or Slack or Microsoft Teams or Zoom or the next product we're using in the future. That was kind of the opportunity. And, I'm also a little practical. So we started with email because that's where knowledge workers work today. But, our vision is to kind of go expand our protection across the cloud office.
Yeah. Hey, Ritesh, back to you. Same idea, same question. Your vision and passion and mission and the why and why you got involved.
Back in the days when I was working for this large organization trying to sell security, there were two fundamental flaws that I saw. One was I would pitch to customers, and some customers would even buy millions of dollars of gear from us and other vendors actually. And I would know that despite all of these things, there are fundamental flaws that are not fixed. So these customers would still be impacted towards a large part. And that used to make me feel a little bit unsatisfied, so to speak, where I want to be able to help these customers that had become friends for me. The second was to outcompete larger players is extremely difficult in the security business, given that it's a very crowded space. And my only answer, wanting to win against the competition, my only answer was to come up with a better technology. And that kept me up all the time. These two questions kept me up all the time. And once I figured out what is the fundamental flaw, why customers still keep getting impacted, if we can fix those fundamental flaws, then I think I would be able to answer to both of the questions that were keeping me up. And luckily for me, the answer came from telcos. And once I understood how telcos are keeping their subscribers safe and how they're able to scale the technology to an extent where no enterprise has done before at the cheapest cost possible, and that was the genesis of Airgap. Once I figured it out, there was just no stopping. I just had to start a company and build technology around it. And I'm so glad that we did. And now we are seeing that huge amount of customer interest. Ransomware is such a big problem for everybody, and we are a company that is on your face focused on ransomware protection. So that was the genesis of it. Yeah.
Hey, Nikhil, same questions for you.
Yeah, so again, as I was mentioning earlier, we are a COVID-born company, so you can imagine the kind of pain and the opportunity that I would have seen. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. While world was kind of getting shaken up, I could have easily taken a back seat and kind of relaxed. But what I saw was two key points. One is software eating the world, right? So digital transformation, and at any given time, right, whenever this bad thing happens, basically the bad guys will come in, like the attackers will come in. So software and security were the kind of intersection, and that was keeping me awake, that there is an opportunity and a calamity, there is so much pain. And when I looked around, I found out there was no good company. Yes, you have tremendous companies like Palo Alto's, Checkpoint of the world, which are based out of kind of network security, hardware-based security, and there was no good pure software security solution. And that's where the genesis of Armor could happen, where the belief is that the next big software security company or security company will come from the software background. And that's kind of got me excited, kept me awake at night, and it was so much so that didn't care about the pandemic or anything.
Thanks, Nikhil. Hey, Evan, same question to you regarding your go-to-market.
Yeah, so I mean, we mostly, so for us, like we have a strategic partnership with Microsoft. So a lot of our customers buy our product directly through Microsoft. It installs one click through Microsoft, and the product by design is meant to not require any work kind of operational overheads, but just work in the cloud, not causing distractions. And that all being said, we do work with most VARs and MSPs. We have partnerships with Trace3, Optiv, all the big kind of both value add resellers as well as kind of MSSPs. So ultimately we do kind of whatever's easy for the customer. And we have so that's how we approach it.
Amazing. Ritesh, same idea in your go-to-market. How do people get started with you?
We're obviously eager to work with resellers, MSPs, and directly with customers. As I tell this to everybody, ransomware does not discriminate. It impacts everybody equally. And for our MSP partners, there is huge opportunity out there, whether they're regional MSPs or global MSPs. In fact, the second largest MSP in the world is now a partner for us, and they're going to start distributing Airgap through their price list and their SKUs starting end of the quarter. We are also working with Optiv and SHI and others, like Ivan mentioned, and we also partnered with a bunch of regional MSPs. So all in all, across the board, people are seeing huge opportunity, and our unique sort of solution, which is ransomware kill switch, is such a big hit for every customer out there. I can almost assure you that if you talk to a CISO and say, "Would you want a ransomware kill switch?" and this is not a architecture, this is actual product that works exactly as advertised, I can assure you the answer is going to be yes. I want a ransomware kill switch because people have watched their house burn down and not being able to react. With ransomware kill switch, you can take an action.
I have a question I'd like to ask Ritesh. Can you talk a little bit about how your company's differentiated in the market? There are other companies that address ransomware, but can you talk a little bit about how you tackle this differently?
Absolutely, Tom. Great question. The fundamental difference between Airgap and others is there are a bunch of companies that are focused on stopping the ransomware from getting into your organization. And these are so-called perimeter protection companies. And I have seen time and again that many of the IT folks get wrapped into just making sure that nobody gets in. And we've seen that perimeters get breached one way or another. Sometimes it's the technology, sometimes it's just people. Somebody clicking on some link that they shouldn't be, somebody connecting a bad USB stick to the computer, or simply a supply chain issue. I mean, solar winds happen to solar winds, but it can happen to your printer. It can happen to anything, and somehow the attack gets in. Airgap's differentiation is we are focused on protecting even if your perimeter is breached. So think beyond perimeter protection, think air gap, think protection of your infrastructure against the lateral spread of the threat, and think air gap in that sense. So that's what makes us different than everybody else out there.
Thanks, Ritesh. And to be fair to Evan and Nikhil, final comment, Evan, about what makes you uniquely different and how can folks reach out to you and get started?
Yeah, so I mean, the big difference is we're an email security company. Kind of every other email security solution is a legacy appliance used to put in your server's closet. We're the only cloud native platform. We're the only platform you can install one click through Microsoft, and we're the only platform that stops this next generation of attacks that get through today. And if people are interested in learning more, I'd recommend our website, abnormalsecurity.com. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Great to see you, Evan. Nikhil, final word?
Yeah, I think so. In the next decade or so, you really got to ensure that your software is intact, and you need to get a complete visibility of your software development lifecycle. And we are a total SaaS-based solution. We can get an up and running in less than 5 minutes. I would encourage people to go to armorco.com, and you can request a demo, or you can reach out. I shared my email here in the panel. And again, software is you have to be very, very careful on securing your software going forward. And yeah.